5:03. We're going to call the meeting to order. Got to make sure we get where. Oh, there's
Oh, great.
Councillor Kellum. We're just still missing one. That's Councillor Duncan. But we are going to start. Hopefully, he can still get on, right?
Yep.
Okay. Anyway, we're going to call the meeting to order. And first, we'll have a moment of reflection. And anyone who can stand, we'll ask them to stand, and we'll have a moment of reflection. That's good, thank you. We should do that part way through so people can stand and get their blood circulating. It's true. Anyway, disclosure of pecuniary interest, you can do it now or at any point in time through the meeting. And next up, we will have a motion to confirm the agenda. We have no alterations, additions, or deletions.
Through the order, nothing to add. No.
Okay, so agendas as presented, motion to approve. Bob Wilhelm, Doug Kellum. Those in favor? It's carried. Next, we'll move on to consent agenda. We have items 5.1 to 5.4, which includes the regular council minutes of December 3rd, 2020. Does anybody have anything they want to pull, discuss? Councillor McDermott?
Could we have maybe the paramedics region appeal resolution? Could we ask our own paramedics if they'd like us to support that?
Okay, so is it okay if I refer that to when Mike Adair gives the paramedic report?
Yep, that's okay.
So we'll do it then,
Okay.
because he's gonna be online then. So.
Yep.
Okay, so I have a motion here that council receives consent agenda items 5.1 to 5.4 and peruse the December 2020 council minutes with the exception of 5.3 region appeal resolution violence against paramedics to be discussed when paramedics is presented. Moved by Councillor Ait, I think that is. Yep, seconder. Councillor, do you have your hand up, Councillor McKenzie?
Yes, I did.
Okay, there's the seconder. I'm having trouble seeing the screen with all the plexiglass. Okay, those in favor of that motion? That's carried. Next, we have a delegation, and that would be submitted by the Planning Mhbc Planning Limited. So do we have Pierre or Rachel? I'm not sure which one. I've got both names here, maybe both.
Pierre.
We have Pierre. And we'll get him on the screen here shortly.
Good morning. It's actually Rachel Demers on behalf of Pierre this morning.
Oh, okay. Can't see your face. I can only see your name.
Sorry,
So,
I'm
thanks,
having some
Rachel.
technical difficulties. There we go.
Oh, there we go. Okay, take her away.
We gave our presentation on December 7th. So today we don't really have much to present and are just here for comments and to provide any additional information as needed.
Okay, and that would be with reference to the OPA, what's the number, 195?
Yes.
Anybody have any questions for Rachel at this point in time? Not seeing any hands go up. You're getting off easy, Rachel. We're not probably going to deal with that for just a little bit, so we can bring you back when, or
We wouldn't bring her back, but I'm not
if
sure.
somebody had some question, we may need to ask her something.
Yeah,
so.
I'm sure she'll stay online.
Okay. Anyway,
I'll
we're
stay
gonna
on the
carry
call.
on. Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you.
Next, staff reports, POA. And I'm just waiting for
Linda.
Linda to show up on the screen, and there's a name.
Good morning, Warden. Good morning, Council.
Morning, Linda. You're up and you're ready to go.
I'm ready to go and you can hear me. That's wonderful. All right, I've presented a council meeting report to council this morning that has to go to municipal services this afternoon. It shows the operational update for provincial offenses court office to the end of November. We're still showing a 27% reduction in the number of charges, fines collected, a 17% reduction, and the distribution of revenue is skewed somewhat because of a very large fine collected for an offense that occurred in the county of Perth. So the long and short of it is by the end of November, we're still continuing to recover our operating costs and there's still revenue left to be distributed. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Questions for Linda? Not seeing any hands go up, Linda. Looks like we're good.
Thank you very much. Everyone take care.
Thanks, Linda. I have a motion here. Perth County Council received the POA operational update to County Council and MSSC report for information. Moved by Councillor Kasenberg, second by Councillor Eggetts. Those in favor? Carried. Okay, we're moving on again. Paramedic services. So we will have Mike, come on.
Make it there. So we can add 7.2.4, and that'll be the when he's done. the resolution.
Hi.
We can
Morning,
add
Mike.
that. We'll add
Morning, through the warden. Thank you for this opportunity. We have 3 reports to go today, and I'd also like to thank council for bringing forward the motion to have discussion and conversation about the eliminating violence against paramedics in the workplace as part of the consent agenda from Peel Region. So I appreciate that opportunity as well. So why don't we start through the warden, or if the CEO, Lori, has any comments, should we start with that?
Nope.
Bill, he should present.
I think just might as well start with your reports there, Mike.
Okay, and then we'll jump to that after.
We're going to leave the Peel paramedic thing till we're going to make it 7.2.3 or 7.2.4. So after your 3 reports, then we're going to discuss that.
All right, thank you. It's this is the first time that I haven't been presenting in the room, and so this is so now I get to see this side of things. So all the counselors that have been presenting from or participating from remote, I'm now living the experience too. So we have 3 reports going forward today to council, and we'll go through them one by one. The final one, I have Deputy Chief Crowley in the room with me, and he'll be part of that presentation as well. And the first one that we're here to discuss is the 7.5.1 on the agenda, which is the Ministry of Health funding allocated to Perth County Paramedic Services High Intensity Supports at Home program for the expansion of community paramedicine. So this one here, we have the ministry has come forward and asked any of the paramedic services in our region if they would like to participate in a mobile integrated health program, which is what you have all read about the PCOP program in the past. It's in alignment with that. And they have roughly $120,000. It will likely be just a little bit more over that, around 123,000 I've learned since, of funding available to us to bolster this program for the period of 3 months, although this funding would allow us to run a 7-day-a-week, 12 hours a day community paramedicine program likely for 4 months if we were to receive this funding. The funding would be allocated and dedicated to patients that require high intensity support in our community, and the impacts of this type of activity would mean that, or we'd be hopeful that we could do things such as reduce ED visits, emergency department visits in the hospital, that we may have an impact with patients that are waiting on the long-term care wait list so that they're avoiding emergency department or hospital admissions, and that we would be able to support patients throughout those 4 months. The funding is at 100%, so the municipality would not be spending money outside of what is being allocated to this. And as I mentioned, it would be 4 months. At the end of 4 months, the program would resort back to the, resort back to the original program that we have running right now. So we would be able to continue to support the patients in the community the way that we are currently. Aside from that, what we would be seeking from council is the approval to receive the funding allocated by the Ministry of Health to be applied to the Perth County Paramedic Services MIH program. And then we would be able to receive that money and apply it for those 4 months and move forward with increasing those hours that we have available to the program. So with that, I turn it over to back to you, Warden, for any kind of questions.
Okay, any questions for Mike on that report he just gave us on that? Not seeing any hands go up. That was certainly good news that we got that, Mike.
Yeah,
Anyway.
and through the Warden, the hope is that if, you know, with these opportunities, when we participate, my hope is that in the future that there will be funding from the province that is sustainable and that is long-term. So while these are one-time funding models that are occurring, and part of it ties back to strategy that the province is developing to ensure that patients are cared for in our communities during COVID. But beyond that, there are opportunities that may come from this in the future where, you know, through proof of concept, that we could have a larger and broader impact to our community if we are able to sustain and to obtain permanent funding. So I think that, you know, there is value in that as well. And I hope that that the province is able to support that in the future.
Very good. Thanks, Mike. So I have a motion here. Perth County Council receives the Ontario Health funding allocated to Perth County Paramedic Services High Intensity Supports at Home program and an expansion of community paramedicine report for information, and that council approves receiving the funding allocated by Ontario Health to be applied to Perth County Paramedic Services Mobile Integrated Health Program. Mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Wilhelm, second by Councillor McDermott. Okay, no questions? No comments? Those in favor of that motion? It's carried. Okay, next we'll go to the shared services report. Mike?
Thank you. So this is the shared services report for this version of shared services. And what we put in this report is really a reflection of accomplishments from 2020. I won't go through them all right now. Of course, highly pandemic focused up front. And there are some significant, you know, I guess, advancements throughout the past year, and certainly since I started in June. So we have, you know, in here we talk about the MIH funding that we talked about right now, pandemic stuff, and then just some of the more operational things like return to work programs are being revised and implemented. We negotiated 2 collective agreements within the last year, things that council would already be aware of, but it's good to share at the Mssc. So that's the first part of that report. And then we go into a little bit about some of our projected system performance metrics for this year. These are only projected at this point because we're making some guesses about December and November when we were looking at the data when I was preparing this report. So we will bring to council and to Mssc in the new year an annual report of how we did in 2020 in terms of some of these items here. So call volume, we are seeing similar, we're projecting that we're going to have a similar call volume this year as we did in our previous year. In our first quarter, we saw actually a decrease in call volume, and now we're seeing things return back to normal. I think you may have heard that in the past. That likely has something to do with COVID, and time will tell. But we see that we would likely hit around the same number of calls as we did last year in terms of patients that we've connected with. In terms of co-critical, so co-critical is when there's 3 or less ambulances in our community, and these situations can happen because either a surge of calls or just general call volume that's happening. So as an example, if there was a significant car accident where it required several ambulances, or maybe there's another time where there's several patients that need to be transported to a higher level of care outside of our community in peripheral hospitals like London, as an example, then we would see the number of ambulances significantly decrease. With the added resources and the changes to the program that was occurred in 2019, you can see a significant decrease in times where these co-criticals are occurring. So that's evidence that we are making a significant impact on our communities when with the additions of those resources that occurred back in 2019. So to me, that's a good news story. We'd like to always see that at 0, and we'll continue to work on, work on what we can do and what we can control within our system and measure that. And we certainly will report back next year as well. Our response time performance plan, a report has already previously gone to council. This just shows what we're projecting for the end of the year, and we're meeting many of these targets. And so that's good news story as well. The hospital offload delay, we're actually meeting all of those targets right now, I should say. Hospital offload delay monitoring, we're seeing that the 90th percentile the 90th mean offload time is 42 minutes. So we're seeing a slight increase over 2019, but only by 2 minutes, and we'll continue to work with the hospital system. There are some things with respect to COVID that are changing processes within the hospital that would take it longer to process our patients. And then finally, the final metric that I put into this report for interest is our Cobit screening. And what this tells us is when we have a patient that we either through the communication center, through 911, or through the paramedics asking a series of questions, identify that they are at risk of having COVID. We haven't done the testing at this point and lab testing, but we're anticipating that they may have COVID, or they have had a positive diagnosis of COVID that we have to wear a certain level of PPE. And we can see that, in November, we're having significant increases in that. And this really is almost a reflection of wave 1 and wave 2 of COVID statistics provincially. So it's where we would expect it. And it just indicates that, we're at a position in our community no different than anywhere else in the province. And we continue to respond within the context of that pandemic. The final thing for this report was just making aware of our partners, our municipal partners, that we have an opportunity to receive $120,000 of the MIH funding. So that wraps up what our report looks like for our system partners going to Mssc this afternoon, should council approve the report moving forward. And with that, I turn the microphone over to the warden. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Any questions for Mike on his shared services report? I'm not sure if everybody just wants to get done quick or not, but I'm not seeing any questions. I got a couple for you. So the offload delay trending, there was a lot of attention drawn to that in the last year or two, but I see that's not really improving. That's likely going to get worse still. Is that what am I assuming that's the probability?
I think that that's a good assumption in terms of the probability that it could be moving in that direction. And certainly we didn't see a decrease this year in 2020. In fact, as you pointed out, we've seen an increase, and it's something that we'll need to continue to work with, particularly the here in Perth Health Alliance on to monitor and to look at our, if there's anywhere where we can obtain efficiencies. And part of their, so when you go into the emerge department, part of the system is, of course, the registration and the triage, and then the allocation to a hospital staff member. And until they're allocated to a bed or to a waiting room area, then we have to continue to care for that patient. So looking at steps within that process, along with the hospital, we do have meetings with the emergency department, and we are reporting these findings to the Huron Perth Health Alliance so that they can continue to work with us to reduce those times. So it's something that we'll continue to monitor and report to council as well.
So one just follow up on that, if you don't mind. These offload times, they are strictly for urine Perth. They don't really include you have to run into London or Kitchener.
These ones are for our, these ones are for our local hospitals. These are informed mostly by our local hospitals. Any of those times that would be London or Kitchener would be an outlier to these times and not significantly change them. Through the warden, I will, however, we could look at those times as well in terms of Kitchener for the calls that we are doing in those areas, and see if what's occurring in those communities as well and how that's impacting our system. We haven't looked at that.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Anybody's got any questions yet? Councillor Herlick, I think I see his hand moving.
This is something that I don't see going away. The amount of people that are getting up there that need care, it's unbelievable. I go up and down our roads and neighbors that are getting up there and our issues are showing because we have such a glut of people. Boy, we're going to get snowed in the next years. It's going to be busy. We all know it, and whatever we're going to do to embrace it, we got to start focusing on how we're going to handle these patients and this baby boomers getting up there. Thanks.
Thanks, Daryl. You're kind of cutting out a bit, so maybe the next time just lean a little closer to your computer. Maybe we'll get better pickup. You're too tall. I think you're almost going over top of it. Okay, I have a motion here. Perth County Council receives paramedic services, municipal shared services committee update for information, and report be provided to municipal shared services committee for the December 17th, 2020 meeting. Moved by Councillor Eggetts, seconded by Councillor Herlick. Those in favor? It's carried. Thanks. So next we have 7.2.3, the stair chair purchase. And I believe Mike Crowley's doing that one. See there?
I think
Yes. Yes, we're gonna, Mike Crowley and I will tag team. I'll when we need to be close together, I'll throw my mask on in a second here. So this is a single source purchase that we're looking at moving forward. And they are stair chairs. Mike Crowley can talk a little bit about what the stair chairs do and why the striker stair chair, the one that we're putting forward to council for approval to purchase. One of the things that we were able to do is we looked at a quote that was provided to Perth County a few months ago for these stair chairs, and you'll see in the report that was just over $49,000. And we also did a quote through the Mhbc purchasing department, and it came in at just over $42,000 for this particular piece of equipment pre-tax on both of those. And so we, of course, at no profit to Mhbc in any way, shape, or form, would like to recommend purchasing it through that purchasing department, and then just do a reimbursement to the flow of funds. So I'm going to pass over the camera here. I'm just going to angle my computer a bit, and Deputy Crowley can talk a little bit more about these stair chairs.
Morning, everyone. I'd just like to give you a little background on the stair chair for those of you that have never seen one. I have one right here. Can you just move the?
Is that what you're looking
Yep.
for? Yep.
Everybody see that?
Yep.
That's our stair chair. It's a mandatory piece of equipment with the Ministry of Health. This one here is a striker model. It's used for moving patients from upstairs in a residence, downstairs in the residence, to the main floor, or outside where the stretcher is. Our current models are 14 years old at the end of their life. We've actually had a failure on one of our Furno stair chairs, and it was at a major point. Could have resulted in
Adverse
patient being
event.
injured severely had it been failed at the top of a stair or something like that. Another service nearby had the same failure, and their chairs are the same. We're looking to purchase these quickly. With the striker stair chair, we're looking at striker because of exceptional customer service, expedited problem resolution, and greater parts inventory. We found with striker, you give them a call, you send them an email, and you get a response immediately. With Furno, it could be days or weeks before I get response, especially for service. We'd also like to standardize all our equipment. We currently have the striker cots in half of our fleet, and we'd like to go to striker system fleet-wide. So within the next 2 years, I think it's 2 years, Mike, we will have striker power cots in all of our ambulances, and we'd like to go with a striker stair chair as well. 2 staff that are now trained in striker maintenance, and what else we got? Ergonomics, better ergonomics, lighter weight. That's huge for the medics. It's only a few pounds difference, but it makes a big difference when they're carrying equipment and a stair chair up the stairs. Patient securing devices is preferred over the Furno. I don't know if you can see everything here. I sure wish we were right in front of you here, but this device here for securing the patient's feet is much preferred over the Furno, as well as the head strap and the cross straps across the chest. What all I got?
All right, well, thank you, Deputy Crowley. And the purchase that we're looking at doing here is through a budgeted capital purchase for this year. So these chairs were already budgeted for. And the reason why we're bringing it to council is because it is the single source. And
Okay,
through
thanks,
that.
Mike. And thanks, Mike, too. Anyway, questions for either Mike on with regards to the striker chairs from council? I'm not seeing any hands. Okay, I have a motion. Perth County Council receives the stair chair purchase, Mhbc pricing for information, and that council approves the purchase of the striker brand chair stairs using Mhbc Health Services preferred pricing. Moved by Bob Wilhelm, second by, take your pick, Daryl. Councilor Hurlick. Those in favor? Carried. Thank you. So next, we're gonna go back just a little bit. We're gonna deal with that, what letter we got from Peel with regards to the violence against paramedics. So where did I see Mike up there? He's disappeared on.
He's right in the bottom in the middle.
Oh, there he is.
There he is.
Down here.
Thanks, Mike. Okay, so Councillor McDermott wanted that pulled out, and I was actually gonna if somebody else didn't. So any comments with regards to that, what we received there, Mike?
Well, I just want to thank Councillor McDermott and the entire council for bringing this forward. It is an important subject, of course, to our paramedics, and their safety is, their health, safety, and wellness is paramount. I know that this council and our community has invested significantly in our paramedics, both on a day-to-day operation perspective and through many of our programs like our peer support program and having psychology accessible to our staff when they require it. So I can't be more appreciative than some of those types of things. In terms of the this, I think that this is a great thing to pull and for a dialogue and discussion, and certainly would appreciate and welcome the support of council with respect to this, and would, I think that they, in this case, had sent a letter. Certainly that would be something that would be interested in supporting along with council, and to continue to augment our program that we already have in place. And we could take a closer look with my staff members at maybe what Peel is doing and seeing if there's any areas that we can replicate or bring to Perth County. Those are some of my early thoughts on this. Back to you, Warden.
So we can do this a couple different ways. I know Peel's wants to advocate to the federal and provincial governments to implement the necessary legislative changes. So we could either send a letter supporting that resolution, or we can have staff bring back a report. But I'm thinking, and it's just my thinking, so you can correct me if I'm wrong, Peel seems to have done a fair bit of legwork on this already. So if we were to send or pass a resolution to support what Peel's already got started, should be suffice. Any comment from council or you, Mike, on that? Councillor McDermott.
No, I would support that if Mr. Adair's happy with that as a start. That's fine by me.
That, yeah, I see the thumbs up from Mike, so.
Through the warden, I am, yes.
Perfect. Okay, so I would need a resolution to send off a letter of support for that. Moved by Councillor McDermott, second by Councillor Kazenberg. Any more discussion? Any comments? Those in favor? Carry. Perfect. Okay, moving on. We're done with that. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
I think we've kind of got you cleaned up now, maybe.
Yeah.
Yep, we're moving on to CEMC. So we'll see you this afternoon, Mike.
You said he's in a emergency management.
Next we have Todd McCone.
Oh, good, he's there. Yeah, okay.
Is Todd there?
Somewhere.
He's coming. Oh,
There he is.
just takes a couple seconds to get them up on the screen if you're wondering what the delay is. Todd, how are you this morning?
Good morning, Warden Aitchison. Good morning, Council. How's everyone this morning?
Good.
Good, super. First, I want to apologize for my atmosphere here. The power went out on Road 150 about 9 o'clock when I was on with St. Mary's. So just bear with me. I know it's a little dark, but I apologize for that. Your worship, you'll see my report submitted to yourself and council. if it's pleases council, I could like to summarize the report.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. This report summarizes the Community Emergency Management Coordinator's activities as they relate to the 4 mandated components of the emergency plan, which of course are the emergency plan itself, training programs and exercises for employees, public education, and any other elements. The big part of this report contains a bylaw change for compliance for 2020. I'm going to go over to Emergency Control Group and Program Committee. The Emergency Management Program lists the composition of the Emergency Control Group, and it also lists the composition made up as the Emergency Management Program Committee. After staffing changes, Your Worship, in 2019, the province granted me some time to get everything back in line, and that time has expired in December of 2020. So for efficiency, I've spoke to your CAO and came up with a plan and a new organizational chart, which will comprise of our new emergency control group and our emergency management program committee. The reason why we do this is for training to meet compliance. It streamlines the process of reporting to OFMEM, and sometimes having too many people on an emergency control group, as I know all of you are aware of what we've experienced through COVID, it's better to have the people who can get the job done. I want to reassure council and make you aware that at any time in our emergency control group, we have the ability to pull in HPPH, the OPPA, OPP, police, Stratford PD, any other resource that we feel is necessary, we can pull them in. So please understand this group is just the committee. It doesn't, it can certainly go beyond that. And my suggestion to council is the new committee be made of the head of council, which would be Warden Aitchison, the chief administrative officer, the CEMC and alternates, the Director of Corporate Services for the County of Perth, Director of Public Works, and Chief Adair from Paramedic Services. We're very fortunate to have Chief Adair as part of this group because he brings a world of experience in emergency management to the county. That's going to come forward, Your Worship, in a bylaw later on in the meetings, and I just wanted to make sure that all council understands that. I just want you to also understand this is quite common. I've just completed this process with the town of St. Mary's, so it just streamlines it and aligns everything perfect for the next several years. That's the end of my report, Your Worship. If there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to take them at this time.
Okay, thanks, Todd. Questions for Todd? I see a hand up to start, so that'd be Councillor Agatha. You start. Mute.
My apologies.
Thank you.
Wondering if the deputy warden should be added to the control group as well. I know we have that in Perth East, that he was always on the meetings, and if something happens and I can't be there, he would take over. So I'm just wondering if we should add the deputy warden to this as well.
And that's a great point, Councillor. It actually reads the head of council. So I would check with our CAO, but my interpretation of that, in absence of the warden, you as deputy warden would automatically become head of council. Again, I will check with the CAO to make sure, but it's certainly not an issue to add. Just keeping in mind that who we put on has to attend the meetings and trainings for the county as well.
Right, I realize that, but I still think, even though the deputy would automatically take over, I think they still need to be involved in all the meetings, because if something happens partway through, the deputy is right up to speed. So,
and I agree with that, and that is we can absolutely do that. Not a problem.
Thank you.
Okay. Other questions? Other comments? Not seeing any hands, so we are going to add the deputy warden then. Okay. So I have a motion here that council receives the emergency management program report and council approves the updates to the emergency management program. Moved by, and with that slight addition. Moved by Councillor Eggetts, seconded by Councillor Wilhelm. Last chance for comments or questions. Those in favor? Carried. Moving on. Thanks, Todd. Next, we're moving into planning. And we'll have Sally. And first on the list is the status update for the OPA surplus farm dwellings. Oh, and there's Sally. Morning, Sally.
Good morning. Can everybody hear me?
Okay, take her away.
Well, good morning, Warden Aitchison and members of council. I wanted to bring you this report as an update. So you'll recall that on October 1st, we had a public meeting for Official Plan Amendment 189. It's with respect to surplus farm dwelling policies. And that through the month of October, we had public consultation efforts underway. So we had a web forum for people to submit comments. We received comments in writing through the regular mail and through email. And we also brought a report and had discussions at each of the lower tier councils, going through the amendment and talking about each of the different subparts. So generally speaking, the public consultation brought out general support for the amendment. And we also received some specific questions and comments and requests for information that challenge specific parts of the amendment. And so it's important, of course, to respond to those and to work through the different challenges that, that looking at those questions and comments and requests for information as challenges to the amendment, we can then work through delivering responses to those, because when we do that, it certainly creates an environment where the amendment is strengthened through greater justification, or it inspires editing of specifics in the amendment that ultimately make it better. So that is the beauty of public consultation, and both of those exercises of going through increased justification or potential edits are valuable and worth dedicating time to. We also received a letter just this week, an additional comment from the public, and that was through the Perth County Federation of Agriculture. And so you should have received, it came in after the agenda, but you should have received it through email, I believe. And again, it's generally supporting the amendment with a specific support for the limiting of livestock, and that's from a disease control perspective. So it's also important to recognize that there's a related issue or a related question playing out in Huron County in our neighboring municipality. And we wanted to let that play forward and see how it might influence our intentions and the actual text amendment in Perth County here. So with those pieces of information brought to you by way of update, it just seemed very important that you had an update of the activities that are ongoing. We're working through specific, we've been asked to look at other jurisdictions and bring specific information back about accessory uses and the home industry provisions and the keeping of livestock. And as you'll recall, we are also in consultation with the province. We sought out their comments specifically, and so we're looking for them to provide us with any concerns that they might have with respect to the amendment. So we're working through those pieces, and we wanted it, recognizing that time passes and that we will be issuing responses and having more discussions with both individuals who respond to us, but also with the council in North Perth and their specific requests for information, that we would need to address those things before we could come back to you and that time would pass. So we wanted to make sure that you had an update with respect to the amendment. And I think that is the bulk of my comments right now. Other than just to point out that I have made a recommendation for a deferral right now, and that reflects not only the exercise we're going through right now to address comments, but also reflects a specific request from North Perth Council.
Okay, thanks, Sally. Any questions for Sally with regards to that report? Not seeing any hands going up, Sally. You said you had consultation with the province. You haven't heard back from them yet?
I received a letter just yesterday afternoon, actually, and it's a bit high level to really get at what the details that we talked about when we had our meeting with them. So I would like to actually give it a second try and see if I can get some more specific comments from them about like, I really want to see if they have anything more specific they would like to offer. It doesn't really give us a lot of direction. But in fairness, I just received it yesterday and just read it one time. So perhaps if I reread it.
Okay, thanks, Sally. Okay, I have a motion here. Still no questions? No? Okay, Perth County Council receives a status update for OPA 189, surplus farm dwelling, proposed policy amendments, report for information, and Perth County Council defers a decision on OPA 189 until the municipality of North Perth's questions have been addressed, as per their correspondence dated November the 11th, 2020. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, second by Councillor Duncan. Last chance for comments or questions. Those in favor? Carried. Okay, thanks, Alec. Next, we have the application for Perth County Official Plan Amendment by Mhbc. And I believe David's doing that. David presenting that? Nope, there he is. Okay, David, you're up.
Hey, thank you, Warden Aitchison, Warden, members of County Council. I'm presenting today on application for official plan amendment number 195. This application for amendment proposes to allow for the future severance of a parcel of land that would contain an existing single detached dwelling, which has been identified as being accessory to an existing grain elevator business, also known in the plan as an agriculture commercial industrial use. The County of Perth official plan does not otherwise permit severance of a farm-related commercial industrial use that would contain a permanent accessory residential dwelling. Decisions on official plan amendments are required to be consistent with the PPS or provincial policy statement. Section 2333 of the PPS states that new land uses in prime agricultural areas, including creation of lots and new or expanding livestock facilities, shall comply with the minimum distance separation formula, or MDS. Since OPA 195 involves an existing agriculture-related commercial industrial use containing an accessory residential use with a people density that is similar to surrounding agricultural uses and would not generate significant visitation by the general public, the severance permission that would be granted by the amendment is not anticipated to cause any impacts upon the surrounding agricultural uses and farm operations based on the characteristics of the uses that are present on the subject property today. Further to this, and regarding the MDS, there are 5 surrounding livestock facilities that have been evaluated with respect to MDS. The closest of these facilities is located at 6325 line 81. It's identified as farm number 5 in one of the schematics that was attached to our report. To reiterate from this, supporting calculations that were provided by the applicants have demonstrated that the existing dwelling on the subject property does meet the required MDS setback from existing livestock facilities. The PPS defines agriculture-related uses as farm-related commercial and farm-related industrial uses that are directly related to farm operations in the area, support agriculture, and benefit from being in close proximity to farm operations. Section 2341 of the PPS makes a clear distinction concerning the situations under which an existing dwelling in a prime ag area can be severed. The severance that it would follow that would implement the official plan amendment would not result in creation of a new non-farm residential use, but rather creation of a farm-related commercial industrial use, which would contain an accessory residence. To affirm the approach, the draft amendment makes clear reference to the accessory nature of the dwelling with respect to the farm-related commercial industrial use, and also prohibits severance of the permitted accessory residence in future. The controls directed by the amendment would ensure consistency with the PPS by permitting creation of the new lot, while ensuring that no allowance would be provided to introduce situations that would cause land use conflicts with surrounding farm operations. Through review of the proposal, applicable sections of the PPS, applicable sections of the county official plan, it has been demonstrated that the proposal would not cause any further interference with surrounding farm operations. The dwelling in this case is already established. The impacts from that dwelling to existing livestock operations have already been accounted for in terms of the intensities of those livestock operations. And as mentioned before, the MDS analysis shows that there is no further impact through the calculations, as demonstrated through the calculations. Therefore, to conclude, the proposed amendment has found to be consistent with the PPS, provided though that the area of land to be severed would be limited to the minimum size needed to accommodate the farm-related commercial industrial use and containing any accessory uses thereto, as well as their servicing needs. The applicants have provided a severance sketch which illustrates proposed boundaries for the lot. However, the boundaries would of course have to be confirmed through a future consent application should the official plan amendment be approved. The draft amendment again has been provided and it's provided here for consideration by council, which is consistent with the application. And just to summarize in terms of our public meeting notice was provided as per the Planning Act and posted to the county website on November 17th, 2020. As of today, we have received 3 written comments regarding the application. The first was received from the Huron-Perth Catholic District School Board, November 17th, stating that they had no concerns. Second comment was received from Maitland Valley Conservation Authority on November 26th. Mhbc stated also that they have no objections to the OPA and that it is in general conformance to the natural hazard policies of the PPS. And finally, we received correspondence from the municipality of North Perth via their council on December 8th, stating that North Perth Council recommends to County Council that the application be approved. So that is the balance of the comments that we received and summary of our reporting. I'd be happy to answer any questions members of council or the public may have regarding the application. Thank you.
Thanks, David. I see a hand up. So you got one question, Councillor Wright.
David, I just noticed in there's a lot of talk about a mobile home. They're not proposing that, or are they proposed? No, that's just in there as general rhetoric. The person that lived there would have to be part of the business if it would be allowed. But I just read all that and I thought, okay, that's all I wanted to know. They're not planning on it, but it's there for provisionary. Thanks.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Oh, we got something up on the screen here. I can't see a couple of faces. There we go. We're just doing a little technical adjustment here.
There, so we know who it is.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions? I don't see any. We have done one of these in the past, if I can remember. We did one in Perth East, an OPA for Timmerman's elevators back in the day. So this is very similar to that. And there was a severance done there after the fact as well. Anyway, I have a motion here. County Council received the report entitled Application for County Official Plan Amendment by Mhbc Planning Limited. Pierre Chauvin, MCIP, RPP, on behalf of Dell and Bonnie Cressman, OPA 195 for information. And that the respective bylaw be presented for approval. And that County Council approved the application for official plan amendment by Mhbc Planning Limited on behalf of Dell and Bonnie Cressman, OPA 195 for property described as Lot 10, east part of Lot 9, Concession 3, Elma Ward, Municipality of North Perth. Moved by Councillor Duncan, second by Councillor Kellum. Last chance for questions. Don't see any. Those in favor? Perfect.
Through the warden, if we could ask Councillor Kasenberg just to verbalize how you vote on that matter. Right now we have you on the phone, so if you could just unmute yourself, that'd be great.
I'm in favor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, David. Looks like we've got that dealt with. So we're going to move on to corporate services. And first on the agenda is the Mssc report from Stratford Perth Archives, and that would be Betty Jo. You just got to give us a couple seconds to get up on the screen. There she is. Good morning, Betty Jo. You're up.
Thank you. Good morning, Warden, Council, and colleagues. Like POA and paramedics, this report, if approved, will reappear this afternoon at the Mssc meeting. It is a consolidated preservation policy for Stratford Perth Archives for your consideration. As noted in the report, key resources and procedures are already in place to provide a high level of protection for the collections here at Stratford Perth Archives. The policy provides a somewhat brief summary of those resources and procedures, underscoring how protecting collections is integrated into all aspects of archives operations, from housekeeping to public exhibitions. I say somewhat brief because the policy is based on the British Library's Guide to Building a Preservation Policy, which recommends a short, high-level document, but then lists no less than 20 topics that should be addressed. In any case, having an approved policy in place will be useful for reassuring potential donors that their family or business records will be properly cared for negotiating exhibition loans with other archives, and orienting new staff and volunteers. Because it summarizes what we're already doing, there are no new budget implications because of the policy. So I thank you for your time this morning, and I would certainly welcome questions or comments.
Thanks, Betty Jo. Questions for Betty Jo with regards to that report we just received? Don't see any hands. I guess Todd will unmute if he has a question. Not seeing that, so I have a motion. Perth County Council receives the Mssc report for Stratford Perth Archives / preservation policy, and that council approved the policy and the report for submission to Mssc meeting of December 17th, 2020. Moved by Councillor Agus, second by Councillor McDermott. Those in favor? Carried. Do we have to ask Todd if he's in favor of that?
Through the warden, I would, yes.
Okay, Todd, we need to know if you're in favor of that. Seeing as I can't see you.
I'm in favor.
Thank you. Okay, moving on, we have the closed meeting investigator report, and that would be Tyler.
So through the warden, thank you. The report in front of council today is with respect to the closed meeting investigator Gregory Stewart. So the contract expires at the end of 2020. So Perth County Council has now required the services of a closed meeting investigator. There's been no request for investigations. So this is a housekeeping matter. This report would be similar to a report going to all member municipalities to extend the contract of Gregory Stewart with Donnelly and Murphy LLP for 2021 into 2022. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to take them at this time.
Okay, questions for Tyler on that report? I've got to assume that that same report's going to all the lower tiers as well, so. We dealt with it at Perth South the other night, so. Bob Wilhelm, I see your hand up.
Yeah, just a question. Is Gregory Stewart still a member of the law firm, or is he on his own?
So through the warden, the information that I have is he's still with Donnelly and Murphy.
But in a reduced capacity.
Presumably, I don't have that information, sorry.
Okay. So if we name him, oh no, we just actually, yeah, we do name him, so even if he doesn't stay with Don Murphy, he can still be the closed meeting investigator.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Not seeing any. I have a motion. Perth County Council receives the closed meeting investigator report for information, and that council approves the renewal of the agreement with Gregory Stewart to serve as Perth County's closed meeting investigator, and that the warden and clerk are hereby authorized to sign and enact the agreement to appoint a municipal investigator. Moved by Councillor Wright, second by Councillor McDermott. Those in favor? It's carried, and I need to ask Todd again if he's in favor, according to my clerk here, so.
I'm in favor.
Thank you. Okay, next we're gonna move on. Done with that, we are moving on to the board and committee appointments. Tyler.
Perfect. Through the warden, in front of council today is the committee and advisory committees, boards and committees appointments for 2021. I sent out an email requesting some response with respect to preferred committees and boards that council would like to sit on. We'll provide that up on the screen momentarily for council's discussion to determine who would be on which committee and which board. So everybody should be able to see that. In red was the responses that I received back, as well as the highlighted one from Councillor Kaysenberg regarding whether or not if there's anybody else that would like to take that space. In black writing is the mandatory spots for those members. So those are locked in. So we are looking for an extra member, another individual to sit for the Spruce Lodge Board, as well as 2 for Perth County Land Division, and 1 for the attainable and affordable housing. And then there are a surplus in Stratford Perth Museum and Huron Perth Public Board of Health.
So Spruce Lodge Board. My question would be, Rhonda, you not interested in going back to that?
Yes, I am. I thought I sent my name in for that, actually.
Because I'm going to say you're chair of Hamlet Estates, so that would be kind of
Yes.
a full pot.
You need to be on there if I could. I was pretty sure I sent it in.
You're on now because I don't see any other. We need 2. Unless somebody else wants to throw their hat in the ring right now.
Do you want to vote that one down and then we take it up?
Okay, I'm gonna give council the option. Do you want to vote each one as we go, or do you want to wait till we're done and vote once for all of them?
I have one other thing, Jim, that I want to ask. The agriculture working group, could that be changed to, oh, it is Councillor McDermott. Nope, never mind, sorry.
No, we actually, we'll get we're gonna go down the list of each board, so.
Okay.
So on there, the next one is members of municipal shared services. We need 3. I'm showing 3 there, myself, Councillor Wilhelm, and Councillor Eggetts. No one else wants to take a run at that? Not hearing anything. We're moving on to the next one, Perth County Land Division. So my name's on there. Councillor Eggetts, Councillor McKenzie, and we did have Councillor Duncan on the last one. Who else are we missing? We're missing one other one, and Councillor Hurley. So we actually need 2 more people for land division. And we should have one from each municipality. So I'm looking for a couple of names there.
Stay on land division.
Matt, you'll stay on?
Yes, I will.
Thank you very much. We need 1 more. So we've got each municipality covered there. So we do need 1 more. And last was Councillor Hurley. Do you want to remain on that?
I was honestly hoping to do a change here back to the health unit. I actually really enjoyed that. And for me to commit to 2, oh boy, I can't do it. Maybe we should leave it for a minute. I guess we'll have to go down to the Huron Perth and see if I can pull it out.
Well, unless somebody else wants to get on land division.
Yeah, exactly.
Do I have any other people that would like to be on land division? It's not near as complicated as it used to be, because now with some going through uncontested, there's not near as many applications to deal with. I will say that. Councillor Wilhelm, you're interested in that?
I'd gone as if no one else is interested.
Okay. We're going to add Councillor Wilhelm to that.
Councillor
We end up
McDermott.
coming back to that, Councillor Wilhelm, but glad to have you aboard for now. That screen is bouncing and flashing. We got some internet problems.
I don't know what's going on.
Through you, Warden Aitchison, did we miss the museum?
Well, I think it's
later, isn't it?
it's further down, I believe.
Through the warning, it is the second one there. We do have an influx of surplus.
Yeah, I have a different on my screen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is. Sorry, sorry there, Councillor Kellum. For some reason, I've seen up on the screen a couple times we have unstable internet, and faces are flashing and blasting around like crazy up there. So Stratford Perth Museum, we need 1 or 2. We need 1. So we actually have 2 names up there, Councillor Kellum and Councillor Hurley. Is that Hurley? Correct. So would you like to remain there, Councillor Kellum?
Yes, I would, if possible, please.
Okay, Councillor Hurley, did you want to take a run at that?
Hey, you know what? No, Doug's pretty passionate about that, and he's enjoying it. I'll remove my name.
Okay. That's all.
Thanks, Darryl. Appreciate that.
8-10-4.
So we have Councillor Kellum for the Stratford Perth Museum Board. And he's actually, I think you do enjoy that, Doug. Okay. Joint Perth Land Division. So now we're down to Joint Accessibility Committee. So I have Councillor Kassenberg up there. We need 1, right? Correct. But I see his got a yellow through it. So does that mean he's maybe iffy?
So through the warden, if there was nobody else that would like that committee, I believe Councillor Kassenberg would still sit on that. Would you like to confirm that, Councillor Kassenberg?
Yes, I'm willing. I was trying to reduce my load by 1 committee, but I'm willing.
Okay, is anybody else interested in that one? And I can't see all the faces, so just yell out if you're interested. Well, I'm not hearing anything. So I believe Councillor Kassenberg is our accessibility representative. Okay, next is Perth County Agricultural Working Group, I think. And on that, we have, I can't see across the screen because I've got pictures on the one side. We have 5, right? 1 from each municipality and myself. Correct. So on there we have myself, Councillor McDermott, Councillor Ike, Councillor Kellum, and Councillor Wilhelm.
Good, thanks.
And I don't believe it meets very, very often. So, in fact, I've never had a meeting in the last year. So,
Not in my time.
and Lori says not in her time since she's been here. So, is anybody else interested in that, or can we just move on and say those are the 5?
That is 5. Yeah.
That's the 5. We're moving on. So the next one is affordable housing. And we need 4. And so we've got myself, Councillor Wilhelm, Councillor Kazenberg, and Councillor Eggets.
And I can't quit after one meeting. I finally got onto it, so I thought I emailed in that I would continue, but.
Yeah, I was thinking you were on after the first meeting, Doug. Would you still like to sit on that?
Yeah, yes, I would. I thought I put it in.
Well, actually, that works right because that gives us 1 from each municipality plus the warden.
Yep. Good.
That's very good. Thanks, Doug. So that will be the 5 members. I'm looking at that going, we're missing somebody. Okay, you're on. So right now it's going to be myself, Councillor Wilhelm, Councillor Kazenberg, Councillor Eggets, and Councillor Ike. So the next one is the Community Transportation Steering Committee? Steering Committee. Okay, so that may not last very long. We did have a meeting the other day, and the meetings now are going to be at the call of the chair. And that, if we end up doing some tweaking here in the new year, and after that, that committee may be disbanded. But as of now, there's myself, Councillor McKenzie, Councillor Eggets, Councillor Kazenberg, and Councillor Wilhelm. And I assume we're going to leave that as is.
Yeah.
Okay, next one is the Planning Services Review Working Group.
Same.
And that's going to be basically the same thing. The 4 mayors plus myself.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll get that solved in the early in the new year, and that might be coming to an end. So then we have the Perth Public Board of Health. And I have 3 names up on there, and I would believe we only need 2. So on the board is Councillor Kazenberg, Councillor Wilhelm, and Councillor Herlick. So we do need to remove 1. We can do it by volunteer removal, or we can do it by vote. It'd be nice to have some continuity. Councillor Wilhelm there, you've been on this for a bit, and you were on the steering committee for the amalgamation. I kind of think your expertise may be inclined to be of value to stay there. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Currently, I'm chair of finance, so I probably should continue.
Okay, that would be another reason. Does anybody care to withdraw the other 2, Councillor Herlick or Councillor Kazenberg?
I have indicated that I would like to reduce my committee burden by 1. And so as much as I've enjoyed my tenure and as much as my education has lent itself to participation in the health discussions that have happened, I'm prepared to withdraw if that's the desire of council.
Okay, thanks, Todd. Well, according to what Councillor Herlick indicated further on, he would really enjoy getting back on that board. So I don't think Councillor Herlick wants to back away from that one.
So we're done.
So it's going to be Councillor Wilhelm and Councillor Herlick. Is what it's going to be. And we got any more to do up there?
Through the order, that's all we have.
Okay, that's all we have. So at this point in time, I have a motion that Perth County Council receives the 2021 board and committee appointments report, and that council approves the board and committee appointments as presented? Or as finalized? No.
Yeah.
Moved by Counselor Wilhelm, second by Counselor McDermott. Those in favor? That would be carried. And again, I have to ask Counselor Kassenberg if he's in favor of that, because I can't see him.
Yes, I'm in favor.
Thank you, Todd. Okay, moving on. We are going to do the general insurance renewal. So as soon as we get Corey up here, I believe, we'll take a run at that one. We got Corey there, we just gotta get him live. Oh, there we go. We got Corey up there. Thanks, Corey. So we're at general insurance renewal. Take her away.
Thanks, Warden Aitchison and Council. In front of you, you have your 2020 renewal for general liability insurance, as well as auto insurance and property insurance as well is included in this. Within the report, you have a summary of the historics of general insurance. We did see a significant increase in insurance in 2020. I think all municipalities are seeing this increase. Actually, I think the city of Stratford is seeing a 25% increase incurring for their 2021 actual renewals. We were kind of the front runners in seeing that impact with Aon in 2020. So aside from that, you'll notice that it's only looking at about a 5.64% increase from our 2020 insurance. There is moderate increases with our property and auto, and significantly more auto. We've added some more vehicles to the fleet. For example, we did add a SUV for the CEMC in 2020. That is now being looked at as an impact to our 2020 insurance renewals. Another thing to highlight is that our second access layer was 50 million in 2020. It's now only 40 million in 2021. But I still feel that 40 million on occurrence is still a significant amount of money to bear the risk with that. What they're seeing is the higher liability of providing those different access layers in the form of the overall insurance policy. So if there's any questions on the report, I'd be happy to answer them.
Questions for Corey? Councillor Height.
It's been 5 years, so I'm assuming we'll go for RFP in 2021.
That is correct. And I know from history, actually, Bruce County went late for an RFP last year and had, I think, only 2 respondents. And they remained with Aon on the fact that the savings with going with another firm was only negligible in the difference, and they would have cost more money for them to break their contract with Aon. There is only a few partners looking for municipal liability. So in the end, there's only Cowan, BFL, Aon, and Marsh, which used to be JLT, in the game right now. So Bruce County actually did an RFP this 2020 year. They only had 1 respondent, and it was Aon. So they're a current existing partner. The thing is that I don't know what we'll get if we do an RFP, because what I've heard from our current broker is that a lot of these are not picking up any new clients. So it would be nice to do. So we'll be looking at that into 2021.
Other questions? Counselor Wilhelm.
Corey, in this hard market, a lot of industries have gone to captive insurance groups. Has there ever been any discussion about the municipalities? And I'll pick on Marsh, for example, because I know they have a captive in transportation, a very large one. Has been any discussion on discussing with Marsh on municipalities getting together and forming a captive to try and control insurance costs?
No, none of the discussions that I'm aware of. The thing is that these municipal brokers are finding harder and harder to find partners to provide the liability insurance with not essentially our claims, but the overall claims of municipalities and the potential risk of municipalities. So the difficulty is, if we kind of look at that, I don't know what we'll get in return.
Other questions? Counselor McKenzie.
Yeah, I had a meeting last night that I sit on an outside board or another board, and we just did the insurance there, and it was up 14% over a year ago. So I think it's the market that we're in right now, and I guess I would echo comments. Maybe we maybe should be very cautious in going to the marketplace to in another year to seek alternative insurance agents, because it may backfire on us. But it's just the timing that we're in right now is what I find.
Thanks, Walter. Any other comments? Counselor Hurley.
No, as upsetting as this is, I'm not surprised. It's unique times when it comes to insurance. I've never seen so much of this going on. A friend of mine, their fleet insurance doubled this year for their trucks. They're beside themselves. I don't know where this is going to end. I really don't. We're not alone in this, as much as the municipalities are struggling, but it's awful. I don't know if it's overly sympathetic courts. I don't understand. It's not good. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Counselor Agates.
Wondering if maybe we should be approaching the government and asking them for some help, and understand why the rates are going up so drastically, not only for municipalities, but personal as well. And maybe we should look at crafting a resolution to look at that and see if they can give us some answers.
Other comments? Counselor Hurley, one more time.
Took the words out of my mouth, Rhonda, and we need to go province-wide with this. I don't know what we got to do. This isn't going to end well. These are my concerns with so many topics these days, whether it's healthcare or anything. The burden is overloading society. I support Rhonda.
Okay, so with regards to Rhonda's comment, there was a lot of discussion and a lot of approaches made to the provincial government with regards to joint and several liability.
Mhm.
And that got them nowhere, really. We can have staff bring back something as far as a report as to how we might tackle this. But I know it's not like the insurance costs haven't been dealt with through the province at Roma and different places with delegations, but they still haven't responded yet. But maybe they will now. I don't know. It's not going to hurt to try. So is it okay if we get a report back on joint and several liability and whatnot as to how we can move forward and see who we can pester to try and get some reduction? Does that work, Rhonda?
Yes, I would go for that.
Okay. My one other comment is Corey mentioned Frank Town is one of the providers. Well, they just got sucked up by Intact, I think it was. So that may or may not be an option down the road. Depends on what the corporate boss thinks now, maybe. But Frank Cowan has been bought out.
Through the warden, I think it was a certain part of the Cowan that was purchased. I don't know if it was the liability side of it. I think I can recall what Intag purchased, but I thought it was something separate from the overall general liability type of insurance.
Yeah, I'm not aware of exactly what they bought, but I know they bought a good chunk of them. Actually, I think this increase is actually pretty reasonable compared to what I've been seeing going around. Not that I like it, but it's reasonable. Okay. Any other questions?
Just a comment. It is because we got hit kind of the first, Aon was the first to be hit in 2020. So other municipalities that maybe had a later renewal and such are feeling this pressure in 2021. As indicated, I believe City of Stratford is with BFL and they have a 25% increase for their 2021 insurance.
Yeah, it's fairly common right now. Anyway, first we're going to deal with the insurance side of it. And then we're going to do a second resolution with regards to a report and whatnot with regards to Rhonda's discussion. So first, I'm going to have Perth County Council receives the general insurance report and that council approves the general insurance and risk manages services contract for 2021 to AON Reed Stenhouse, Inc. And that the treasurer be authorized to sign the necessary documents to effect the renewal. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, seconded by Councillor Wilhelm. Those in favor? That's carried, and I need to ask Todd if he's in favor of that.
I'm in favor, yes.
Thank you. Next, I want a resolution or direction. Can we do it either way?
Yep, resolution directing staff to.
Okay, I want a resolution to direct staff to bring back a report on the joint and several liability portion of the insurance and how we might proceed forward to try and mitigate some of our costs.
Right.
Moved by Councillor Kellum, second by Councillor Eggets. Those in favor? And that's carried, and I got to ask Todd again if he's in favor of that.
Yes, I'm in favor.
Thank you. Okay. That covers that. Corey, is he still? Oh, there he's moved to the other side of the screen. So next we have his report on the Covet Resilience Grant.
Thanks, Warden Aitchison and Council. The report in front of you is an announcement that came out mid-November from Pettipiece's office related to some infrastructure money actually flowing through the federal government, through the province, to municipalities. Within the announcement, it was identified that we have up to $150,000 or $154,000 to be spent on COVID-related items or even just retrofit infrastructure type items to enhance related to COVID, or even categories related just to upgrades and retrofits, repairs, etc. Within the report is identifying two projects that the county would look to submit to this application related to the paramedics headquarters and the courthouse council chambers, or just courthouse in general. There's some details related to what we're looking for in those two projects. The anticipated cost is around $197,000. To note, there's a tight time frame to actually get this application in. With two projects, we have until January 7th to finalize an application with the province. But it also looks that we are looking to fund about 20% of that project to get the $154,000 from the province. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thanks, Corey. Questions for Corey on that? I'm not seeing any. Councillor Wright, did you just raise your hand or you just holding your head up? Okay, I don't see any questions up there, and I don't see anybody unmuting. Okay. Todd hasn't unmuted, no? Okay, I have a motion here. The Perth County Council receives the ICIP COVID-19 Resilience Grant report for information. And Perth County Council approved the submission of an application to the ICIP COVID-19 Resilience Stream to renovation to Paramedic Service Headquarters and Stratford Base and the renovation to the Perth County Courthouse. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Hurlick, second by Councillor Wilhelm. Those in favor? That's carried, and I need to ask Todd again if he's in favor.
Yes, I'm in favor.
Thank you. Okay, now we're moving on to the highlight, Corey, and that would be the budget presentation.
Thanks, Warden. Wouldn't mind just sharing my screen to show the presentation that was within the agenda package, but I'll just share the screen.
Yeah, I think they're going to work on that here shortly.
I think I could do this.
Well, just before the shared screen comes up, Corey.
Yes.
So we did get an announcement yesterday for 184,000, right?
Yes.
And that is for COVID related things as well, correct?
Correct.
But have we got exact details on how that can be spent?
It is exactly as the phase one that we received, the 916,600.
Okay.
This is in relation to the phase two of the overall money that was allotted, about $700 million. Within phase two, only 48 municipalities put in for additional funding. They essentially received that funding, but the overall envelope still had about 300 million left to be distributed. So basically they've taken that 300 million and distributed it in a similar formula as they did on phase one.
Okay, thanks, Corey. So we got the shared screen up there, but gosh, that thing is really flashing and bashing. You ready there?
You all right?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, carry on.
All right. So basically within the package you have is the 2021 budget presentation for Perth County. The binders are put together, but I also have an electronic format of it as well. So you don't necessarily need the binder, but if you prefer the binder, you can let me know and I can get the binder to you. Okay. So 2021 budget has to be a responsible and progressive budget that balances between supporting our communities as well as regional partner and need to deliver essential municipal services throughout this pandemic. I believe that in 2021 budget provides the flexibility needed to deal with the budget pressures expected as a result from COVID-19 pandemic and continue to enhance the overall services of the county. The county is grateful that both the government of Canada and the province of Ontario has increased financial support to municipalities in 2020 to help us deal with the cost increases seen through all municipalities. The funding is definitely assisting in maintaining budget changes, but there are still budget pressures being faced by the county outside the pandemic. Today, I'll just want to highlight these few key impacting areas in 2021. So for example, we've utilized reserves and other levels of government to maintain the 2021 overall percentage. We continue to see reductions in OMPF and an effect on our 2021 budget is about 1.1%, and as well as increased portion of their shared services. The effect of our shared services in our 2021 budget is about 1.48%. Here's a breakdown of our 3.5%, which is within the budget binder, broken into our operating and capital levies. It's a 2.47% increase in our operating levy and a 1.03% increase in our capital levy. Again, the commitment with our capital levy is to hopefully can continue to move forward and to add into our annual basis to ensure our county assets are provided in a good stewardship and moving forward in maintaining our assets and our asset management plan. Here's a little slightly different breakdown of the 3.5%. You'll notice that within there, the breakdown of about 1.2% increase is from the reduction in OMPF. And overall, our net internal budgets are actually a decrease in the overall levy of 0.13%. Again, as noted, OMPF funding, it continues to be a heavy impact to municipal budgets, both at the lower tiers as well as the county. The county receives all transitional money, and this money is being eliminated to be put into the pots of the other envelopes that are the lower tier municipalities are receiving. Overall, we still have about a 6% levy increase with the money that we have. We still have about $1 million to be replaced in the years coming. Again, we still only receive 85% of the previous year's allotment. As noted, we are still utilizing levy stabilization reserve in our 2021 budget, and actually 216,000, which is our anticipated surplus for 2020, to help offset this impact. As mentioned, social services and the other services, as weighted assessment, farmland impacts are impacting our percentage in our formula with the shared services. Our weighted assessment has increased to percentage over the partners and increased 2.77% over the last 3 years. And this is specifically with the increase in farmland. So as noted, delays in reassessment to 2020 values does impact the county itself because we're high in farm. And hopefully in the next 4 years, the shift is back to residential, and we should see this percentage decrease over that time frame. The capital budget will be in the binder. You'll notice $11.3 million in projects, 7.9 million of it being funded from reserves, 3.4 million being funded from federal gas tax, provincial OSIF, and municipal partners, with almost $3.3 million being put away to help with their asset management and the future of our capital. As noted within asset management, the increase for 2021 is about 170,000, 150 to the roads and 20,000 to bridges. We're looking to see those amounts increase over the next 10 years to 400,000 for roads and 400,000 coming up in a few years to get to 4.1 million for roads and 940,000 for bridges to ensure we close that infrastructure gap. The 2021 budget binders do have costs related to COVID-19 impacts. We want to stay flexible, but in 2021, the costs related to the safe restart, we have included about $400,000 in costs associated with COVID that moved into 2021. And if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Okay, so if I can go back to the other screen. Perfect. Questions for Corey? I see Councillor Wilhelm's got a hand up.
Yes, thank you. Corey, do we have an amount set on our levy stabilization where it should be? To me, going over $1 million and continuing to grow doesn't make sense to me currently. And I just wonder if there's an established amount we're shooting for on that reserve.
There's no essentially established amount for the reserve. I'd be looking for policy development in relation to that. But you just have to be aware that we need to have a balanced approach in utilizing these reserves. For example, if you wanted to say reduce our levy for 2021 and say like $165,000 is a 1% to the levy, and utilize reserve, just to note that that amount will be on the 2022's bottom line. Basically, you'd be starting at 1% levy in 2022 related to utilization of reserve. So you want to balance the reserves. So I think utilizing the surplus within 2021 from the 2020's surplus, it is alleviating some of the pressure. But when you get into the binders, you'll notice that 2022, based on a 3.5% increase for 2021, we're already looking at about 5.7% in 2022. So if you would utilize a 1%, $165,000, let's say, you're basically saying that we'll be at 6.7% beginning in 2022.
More questions, further questions? Councillor Eggetts?
Well, I kind of agree with Bob. I have a problem that we're taking the money from the ratepayers, squirreling it away, and then I know it, Corey's saying, but we have to figure out a way that we can use some of that money and lower. So whether we use 1% this year, 1% next year, whatever, but I don't want that stabilization sitting at $1 million and we're turning around and charging the taxpayers more money this coming year again. The other comment I have, Corey touched on it there about the reassessment of houses. We actually had MPAC come to our council meeting on Tuesday evening, and they do not know when it will take place, that the housing industry will be reassessed. They're waiting for the government to tell them. We asked if it would be over a 3-year period then instead of 4, and they don't know any of that information yet. So I'm hoping that soon comes forward so that we can the farmers are taking all the pressure right now. So hopefully they do get that figured out. So, thanks.
Other comments or questions? Corey?
Just to add a comment to Councillor Wilhelm and Councillor Eggetts, that you'll notice in the budget binders, there's also utilization of levy stabilization reserve to help this mitigation impact in the budget binders for year 1 and year 2. So in 2022, there is levy stabilization reserve money being utilized, as well as in 2023 projected.
Other questions or comments? Councillor Ehrlich?
Yeah, no, it's interesting for sure. And this is where I always struggle. You can take it back to the local level with asset management. At the end of the day, the world runs on borrowed money. I get you gotta have some reserves, but when we keep increasing and piling up and hoarding money, it allows tentacles to get in there and nail us and charge us because they know we're doing it. And these are the issues you're running into. And yeah, it's frustrating, but no, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Corey?
Just an additional comment to Councillor Hurlick. There are the continuity of reserve schedules for the next 2 years within the budget binders. You'll notice in our capital budget, which will be coming in January, there's a high level of capital projects which are going to be utilizing a significant amount of those reserves over the next 3 years.
Okay, I guess the best approach here is for everybody to go through the budget. And then we can draw whatever conclusions we need to once we're through the budget. Back to a comment Rhonda made about the assessment. So those assessments have already been done. They know that it's going to shift back to housing. It's just that they haven't been given the okay to apply the new assessments. Those reassessments are already done. But I'm thinking there's a lot more homeowners than there are farmers, so that may be why it's slowing down. Just a comment. Okay. Corey.
Just another side to the assessment as well is not all, by delaying a reassessment doesn't help with all parties. For example, Farmland felt it over the last 4 years for the phase-in, that this residential side impact with the data that is out there, we should see the shift back over the next 4 years to residential. So for Perth County itself, it actually impacts us on the fact that we're high in farmland. I have one more item I just wanted to share is nobody asked the question, but what is the 3.5% impact to a typical home or typical farmland? So I just wanted to show that component. So I'm just going to share my screen again. So the screen is up there. You'll notice that the CVA hasn't changed from 2021. This is due to the delay, but you'll notice that a $258,000 typical home in Perth County would see a $17.75 increase in their property taxes for 2021, and a $1.5 million farmland would see a $25.52 increase. Which is effectively a tax rate increase of 2.67%. That's all I have.
So just back to your shot there, you said that the average home of $250,000 value, assessed value?
58,000.
Do they actually exist in Perth County?
Based on Opta and the values that are on the houses to date, yes, that's what the average house based on 2016 values are listed at in Perth County.
Yeah, I'm thinking we have to get that data corrected. If they were assessed at that, there'd be lots of affordable housing available. I'm thinking all the houses in Perth South, I don't think you'll buy one for less than $600,000 or $700,000.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. This is why we're seeing that the data will probably shift in the direction of residential for the overall the next 4 years because they get a 4-year phase in for the increases.
Okay, thanks, Corey. Just one other comment for me. I was reading the other day, we were approached to reduce the 25% to 22 or 20% on farmland. A lot of the municipalities that did lower it down are now in the process of going back to the 25% level. I think they're finding that they just can't afford to be where they were. And that's happening a lot more to the west of us that had already approved it. They're heading back in where we came from. Councilor Wright.
We actually had our treasurer break down the statistical difference between farmland and housing in West Perth. And I know Walter really wanted to tell you this. Residential in West Perth provides 57% of the tax money, and agriculture provides 33% of the overall money. Just so you know, I know everybody thinks the farmers are paying way too much, but remember the housing still, we pay water, sewer, we pay extra for hydro for our street lights. So we got Angela, our treasurer, to break that down. So we had a better idea. And of course, 10% comes in West Perth from commercial and industrial land.
Thanks, Doug.
Just to add to that, Doug, I think the county has seen when we bring back tax policy that those percentages are in and around about what the percentages are on the overall county itself. 60% is residential and 10% being industrial and commercial, with the remainder being picked up by farm.
Thanks, Corey. Okay, Rhonda, you got another question?
I just have Corey commented about getting binders. Is the easiest way you take them to each municipality, we pick them up there, or we make arrangements, or you have public works as they're driving around, deliver them, or what is the thinking of how these binders? Like I personally would like a binder.
Yes, we can get the binders to the local municipalities. We can get them to North Perth. We can get them to wherever. Jim's got his in front of him right now. Can grab Bob's if he would like it. And then we can get those out as much as possible for you guys to review over Christmas break. Happy holidays.
So we should let you know who wants one. Is that how you want to do it?
Right. I'm going to send an email out to council with the link to the electronic one, and then they can indicate to me if they're looking for a paper copy of it.
But if you want a paper copy right now, say it. Ronnie, you want one. Walter wants one. Doug wants one. Everybody wants one. Doug Kellum hasn't got his hand up.
No, I'm good. We've been doing this for 3 years now.
Perfect. Councillor Kaisenberg, would you like a paper copy or you want to do electronic?
I'm good with electronic. I was the one who pushed for it in North Perth.
That's fine. So everybody wants one except for Councillor Kellum and Councillor Kaisenberg. So we will arrange for delivery in some way, shape, or form. Councillor Wilhelm, I'll be taking yours home with me, and I'll either leave it at the Perth South office or whatever.
It's probably easier for me to come to Stratford, just take it to Milverton, and I have to drive to Milverton and get it. So I'll make arrangements to come into the office and grab mine.
Okay.
Next week.
We can do that, or we can stick it in your mailbox. We'll figure that out eventually, but we just know who wants it for sure now. Okay, I have a motion. Perth County receives the 2021 budget presentation. Moved by Councillor Duncan, second by Councillor McDermott. Those in favor? That's all carried, and I got to ask Todd if he's in favor of that.
Yes, I'm in favor.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on. Committee on Affordable Housing.
Jim, I just wanted to have some closing comments related to actually pulling this together. I want to thank the staff actually for pulling this responsible budget together and looking at it and making sure that we looked at efficiencies and tried to provide something to council that they could be proud of and look forward to into the new year for 2021.
Yes, and I'll just add a quick comment. I want to thank staff because I think my comment early on was we can't have a big increase, and I think they heard that. Where they have gone line by line in a lot of the budgets to try and reduce costs, and we have found some savings, which I can't go in complete detail here, but anyway, we have found some savings in staffing and whatnot. So, but that's kind of more of a not very public session. Okay, we're moving on to affordable housing report. And Rachel, you doing that?
You betcha.
Thanks.
Great. Through the warden, good morning, County Council. On behalf of the Committee on Affordable and Attainable Housing, before you is a report on an activity update from their first meeting, along with an outline of the committee's recommended changes to the mandate and composition as related to the terms of reference that was approved by County Council in December 2019. Just very briefly, those changes include widening the scope of the mandate to be inclusive of supportive housing, along with then changing the composition to include a member of the City of Stratford's Housing Division on the committee. So with that, the report is before council and happy to take any questions on behalf of the committee.
I'm looking to see who's not on mute. I'm hearing something. Oh, that's out here? Okay. Questions, comments? Did you have your hand up, Councillor Wilhelm? Yep.
Yes, I don't recall adding supportive in the mandate. I do recall adding the City of Stratford in there, but I don't recall adding supportive in a few places there. Did I forget that, or how'd that get in there, Rachel?
Yeah, through the warden, thank you, Councillor Wilhelm. It was part of the resolution from the committee that the inclusion of supportive housing be added to the mandate. You'll note in the chart that it is, again, just the addition of supportive housing throughout the mandate within the rest of the approved verbiage from the prior terms of reference.
Other comments or questions? You see Bob's looking at a computer screen. Are you fine with that answer, Counselor Wilhelm? Yep, thumbs up. Any other comments or questions? Not seeing or hearing any. I have a motion. Perth County Council receives a Committee on Affordable Housing and Attainable Housing update report for information. That council approves the committee's recommended mandate and composition changes to the terms of reference. Moved by Councillor Height, second by Councillor McDermott. Those in favor? And that's carried. Any opposed? Councillor Kasenberg, you're in favor?
Yes, I'm in favor.
Thank you. Okay, we're done with that. Bylaws. We'll just try and get up to closed session before we take a quick little break. So the first bylaw I have is bylaw 3790-2020 be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed December of 2020. And that is the meeting investigator we dealt with earlier. Moved by Councillor Wilhelm, second by Councillor McKenzie. Those in favor? Carried. Councillor Kasenberg, you're good with that?
Yes, I'm in favor.
Thank you. Moving on to the next bylaw. And this has to do with the OPA 195. That bylaw 3791-2020 be read a first, second, and third time. And finally passed the 17th day of December 2020. Moved by Councillor Duncan, second by Councillor Kellum. Those in favor? Carried. You're okay with that, Todd?
Yes, I'm in favor.
Thank you. Okay, next bylaw is the appointment to the committees and boards. Bylaw 3792-2020 be read a first, second, and third time. And finally passed the 17th day of December 2020. Moved by Councillor Hurley, second by Councillor Duncan. Those in favor? That's carried. You're good with that one too, Todd?
Yes, I'm in favor.
Thank you. So the next one deals with the emergency management plan. And the bylaw 3793-2020 be read a first, second, third time, and finally passed the 17th day of December 2020. Moved by Councillor McDermott, second by Councillor Wright. Those in favor? That's carried. You're good at that, Todd?
Yes, I'm in favor.
Thank you. Okay, notice of motions. Seeing none. Announcements. Any announcements from council? I have an announcement from the interim CAO.
Thank you, through the warden. I just wanted to take a moment to just reach out to you and send you a holiday message. Given the time of year, I wanted to mention that at the start of this year, I reflected on the busy year we had in 2019 and the busy year that we knew that we had ahead, because we started the year actually with annexation proceedings or boundary adjustment. At that point, no one knew all that this year had in store for us, either as individuals or as an organization. And now that we wind down 2020 and we have already geared ourselves up for planning in 2021, I do feel a great sense of pride looking at all the hard work that has been accomplished together by both staff and council. We have come together at this challenging time, and there is not one part of our organization that this transformative year and COVID-19 pandemic hasn't impacted. County staff have been incredible, and they've risen to the challenges and the changes in 2020. Collectively, All divisions adapted their work plans and priorities, and things have evolved. And I don't think there's a department out there or a division that has not seen some sort of pivot or a new way to do their work. Council themselves, they've worked together while being forced apart by the pandemic. The biggest shift was the adaptation to live stream online council and public meetings. Together, we have been able to accomplish a lot. A few highlights that come to mind include decisions from council on courthouse security, central reception, space improvements for POA planning and economic development, a new planning service delivery model, expansion of paramedic services community outreach program, and the launch of Perth County Connect, which is the region's first rural transit. And that speaks to the forward thinking decision-making that these programs would not have taken place without the support of council. So to council and staff, I just want to express my sincerest thanks. I'm excited about what we have planned for the upcoming year, and I look forward to continuing our excellent work together in 2021. And I wish all of council and staff a healthy and peaceful holiday season. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else got anything to add? Not seeing any hands. Perfect. So next is closed session meeting. I need a motion to go into closed session, and then we're going to take a break because we have to reconfigure everything with the live streaming and whatnot. So a motion to go into closed session, Doug Kellum, Bob Wilhelm. Those in favor? That's carried. Todd, you're in favor of that?
Yes, I'm in favor.
Thank you. Okay, we're in closed session, but we're going to take a break for, I think, at least 10 minutes here. You can go to the washroom, stretch, because we have to get off live feed and all kinds of stuff here. So. Again. So we're back out of closed session. So we've only got a couple little things to clean up here. And that would be, gotta get my readers back on. Confirmatory bylaw. And that would be bylaw 3794 2020, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council of the corporation of the county of Perth at its regular meeting held December 17th, 2020, is read a first, second, and third time and finally passed December 17th, 2020. Moved by Councillor Wilhelm, seconded by Councillor Wright. Those in favor? It's carried. Todd, you're good with that?
Yes, I'm in favor.
Thank you. Okay, and then I have a motion that the council meeting be adjourned at 12:10. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, seconded by Councillor Hurley. Those in favor? It's carried. You're all good with that, Todd?
Yes, I'm in favor.
Thank you very much. And just before you all log off, I want to wish you all the best of the festive season.